Hello everybody, and welcome to the 512 project. It's the first in a series of videos where I'd like to describe the project that I've been working on for the past sort of 10 years now, which is design and make a replica of the Ferrari 512M sport prototype racing car. My name's James and I'm a design engineer. I've worked in Formula One and various different things over the past sort of 30 odd years, and this project started back in about 2014, I think, when I was working in Formula One, decided to take a little bit of a break because as a freelancer, we weren't that busy in the summertime, and I just asked them really if I could take a few months off and then go back to work in the winter, and they agreed, and I sort of had an idea that I would make some radio controlled car body shells, and my favorite car is the Ferrari 512M, can you guess? And so I started to design it in CAD in my own time, just photos and drawings and things that I had, and I had the molds made professionally to CNC, proper engineering standards, and vac form body shells made. A couple of them hanging on the wall there. I'll get the molds down and show you those in a later episode. I can talk a bit more about them if you're interested. Basically, I made 25 of those, just like the original Ferrari 512M, and sold some of them on eBay. If you've got one of those, then you're pretty lucky, because I don't think I'm going to make any more unless I'm inundated with orders, but you never know. So yeah, I sold them on eBay. It was quite a fun project, but I didn't make any money. So not Chinese levels of manufacturing here. So yeah, it was fun, but it was just a hobby really. Went back to work, actually got a job working for Red Bull Advanced Technologies on the Aston Martin Valkyrie project, which was an incredible thing to work on. But it was incredibly time consuming, we worked really hard on that, and needed a break afterwards. And, in my mind, I sort of felt like if I'd done that, then, you could do anything really. And I thought, well, what would I like to do? What's that, the ideal project would be. And I thought, well, how hard could it be to do a one-to-one scale Ferrari 512? And I thought, well, they're quite simply made things. I'll go into a bit more detail in a future video about the construction of the car, but I sort of naively went into it thinking, yeah, I could do that. It's a lot of tubes, I could surface the body. I've kind of done that with my models, so it's just another step. So the seed was planted, and sort of went from there really. I think it was 2019, I was sort of taking a bit of time out, and I just so happened to come across an advert on Race Cars Direct, actually, for a 512M project, which I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing, actually. When I saw it, I thought, well, somebody's selling what I want to do, and it looked like they had all the body panels, and they basically started to modify an existing chassis of an Ultima kit car, and they bought a Ferrari V12 engine and gearbox. And I thought, well, the price that they wanted was really a bit beyond what I could afford. But I thought, well, it'd be interesting to talk to them and see what they've got, and go and see it and just see whether I think that this is the sort of thing that I could do, and so I phoned up the seller, and I was pretty honest with him and said, look, really, I'm a bit of a time waster, I suppose, because I'm straight up, it's beyond my financial means, but I'm just really interested in, would it be all right to come and have a look? And luckily the seller, it was a really friendly guy and a true enthusiast. And he was more than happy to accommodate me, and talk about the project. So the only issue with that was he's in a place called Peterhead, which is near Aberdeen in Scotland. So being in Milton Keynes, it was a bit of a trek. It was a little bit of a, I thought, well, but I thought, well, it's worth it, because you're never going to see anything like this again. I don't think for sale. I'm sure, certainly I haven't seen anything like it since. So off I went on a day trip to Aberdeen, and I met the owner, Mario Ferrari. Hello, Mario. He's a truly lovely guy and a very skilled man, and he'd had this project, and you know, it was incredible to see it in his garage. And you know, I spent a day with him chatting about it, you know, it really planted the seed of this project, you know. And I thought, well, it's a really cool thing to do. And as soon as I saw the car in his garage, I was absolutely infatuated really with it. And I thought, yeah, you've got to try and do this. So I didn't want to do what he was doing really with the Ultima chassis. I thought, well, I think, you know, you need to design your own chassis, which I think the key part of this project is that it looks exactly like a real 512, and you would never fit this depth of wheel on an Ultima chassis. You know, I think for me that was pretty key. So I said to Mario, you know, would you be open to splitting the project up? And really, you know, he said he wouldn't because he'd already started it really, but which I understand, you know. So you know, Mario actually sold the car to somebody in Holland, I think, so it's still out there somewhere. I've not seen any more progress on it, but it'd be interesting to see what's happened with that. So if anyone here is watching who owns that project, you know, it'd be interesting to see how that's gone. So anyway, where I was with it then, I started work. Basically, we had the COVID lockdown, so it was a perfect opportunity. I was at home without a job. I'd sort of got an offer of a contract back in Formula One when things resumed. But I had sort of 3 months where, you know, there was no work and you couldn't go out or anything. So it was ideal to sit down on CAD and just sketch away and see what I could do. So I made a pretty basic model now, looking back at it. I'll see if I can get some pictures on the video. And, you know, after when things settled down a bit and we got back to normal, I started making inquiries about basically to people that had worked on the cars and been involved in restoring them. And I was absolutely amazed by what I found. And I'm going to go into that in depth in later videos, you know, the parts that I'm surrounded with here. I was extremely lucky. And there's so many instances of extremely lucky coincidences and just, you know, dream phone calls that have happened, you know, where you've sort of made an inquiry about, you know, not thinking there'd be any chance of getting a positive response and just getting like unbelievably lucky. And I'll go into that in later videos. It's quite interesting, I think. And so the seed was planted really. And from then on, you know, I started to work on this in between contracts, and it's taken up until now really, you know, to really get serious. And that's why I'm making these videos. I always thought it'd be quite an interesting thing to talk about, but I felt like I hadn't really got enough. When really it's all in CAD. You know, these parts are quite fascinating, and I think the stories associated to them I think you'll find quite interesting. Yeah, I think now things are starting to happen, and I've got some bits that I've actually made, and over the next few weeks there's going to be parts coming in here, so I'm going to film the arrival of the parts and things that are going to happen. I'm going to go through the engineering side of this and what I'm trying to do. So yeah, okay, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'm going to bang some videos out pretty quickly about this now, so things are going to start happening. So cheers, nice one.